All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had a monumentally info-packed chapter of One Piece, and now it's time to move on to My Hero Academia because the last chapter left out on quite an interesting note. So shall we begin? Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. Last we left out on, All for One drew closer and closer to Shigaraki, and when he tried to use his gloop warp quirk to force Shigaraki to his location so he could take over Tomura's body, Shigaraki not only canceled it, but also forced the gloop back down, saying like, "Don't interfere." And All Might, whose body was, massively messed up and his legs no longer worked the way they needed to, All for One thought it was a good idea to parade All Might's, incredibly damaged body through the air so all can see and making fun of him. But what he did not count on was All Might having one last trick up his sleeve, literally, as he latches on to All for One, who's in almost a childlike state right now. He's basically like a young man, like a young boy. He latches on to All for One, and both of them get caught in this all-consuming light, which makes us think that this is the last configuration that All Might had set to. And the only student he didn't have a configuration that he showed was Bakugo. And we all know what Bakugo's quirk is. So let's begin this chapter, chapter 403, and we get a fantastic looking color cover page that shows Nana Shimura, All Might, and Midoriya. And just to reconfirm just exactly what All Might's armor looks like, it is, for the most part, it almost looks like kind of like Iron Man nanotech, because it shows his face, but it's like clad in black armor with yellow gauntlets, and the streaks that make up like his hair like it used to in the past, it's like metallic streaks, and then he has like the different parts that are attached to him. So if we ever get like a full color look at his armor that he has on, I would love to see it, but the way it looks here, the configurations, the detail on it, it looks absolutely phenomenal. But let's begin with chapter 403. Wait. Do we not get it? Do we not get it? Wait, hold on. We're just starting on chapter 403, but we don't get the title yet. And we're getting what looks to be is this young All Might? Is this kid All Might? Is this kid Toshinori? Why was I made? What am I here to do? Thinking back, mine was a path that anyone might have trod. And I guess we have young Toshinori, young All Might when he was a kid, and he's reading this book called Anpan Man with his mom. And his mom's gorgeous. Can I say that? She's got like the really long, like her hair is long. Like it's so long that it's just like touching the ground behind her while she's sitting next to an ironing board. And she has like two tufts of hair that drape right next to her. She has if this is All Might's mom, she has extremely long hair. Thinking back, mine was a path that anyone might have trod. My early memories are almost too tender and mild to be called a proper origin. As for what I've done, I just happened to glance back at my path, and what I saw seemed so very significant. Chapter 403, The End of an Era, and it has like three ellipses at the end. It has an ellipses at the end. Chapter 403, The End of an Era, and which is why. And then we have All for One. We have All for One who's going, "How very hero-like of you." As while All Might was latching on to All for One decided to cause bone spurs to shoot out of his shoulder and not only go through All Might's hand, but also disrupt the gauntlet as well. and now it's not working as it should.
You hope to choose how you leave this world? But no, because finally that's every last trick in your book.
As he grabs All Might by the throat. And with the blood on his hand, and seeing as how All For One stole Stain's blood curdle quirk, he licks the blood off of his hand, which immobilizes All Might.
A cornered hero is terrifying indeed. A lesson courtesy of you. No, you won't be achieving anything here. That's the face I've been waiting for.
As All Might doesn't have a smile on his face. And weirdly enough, All For One, even in this childlike state, is so elated to see All Might lose his smile that he's smiling hard enough to literally tear the skin as he smiles. Like, it turns into like, Heath Ledger's Joker, where it has like this long scars that go up his face. Pardon me. He's smiling so hard, he's tearing his own muscles in a very big, gigantic smile.
That's the face I've been waiting for. You at your lowest.
And then we cut to Tsukauchi, who's watching all of this, and then we cut to the UA Fortress as Gentle is underneath it, cushioning it to keep it from falling. And we get La Brava.
Gentle!
Yes, I see. UA is stable now, so I must be off.
And then something shoots straight through. Something shoots straight through UA, and that causes Gentle to almost lose his balance a bit. Like a bolt just shoots straight through UA. And then the support class, the people who are recording, they go, "Yikes! Don't stop recording!" And then Gentle has to focus on rebalancing and protecting UA. And it was All For One. What do you mean this man can shoot lasers out of his eyes? What do you mean he can shoot lasers out of his eyes? Huh? Or was it from his hand? I think it was from his hand, because it shows like this bolt. The bolt itself, like, it's coming from his eye, but he also has his arm up, so I can't tell if it came from his eye or if it came from his arm. But All For One was the one who shot straight through UA. Through the UA Fortress.
UA distracted me and threw off my aim. No matter. Be crushed under your own righteousness, Tobita.
And then we have the dive bombers, the stealth bombers that, worked with Star and Stripe. They all start careening towards All For One.
Aim all lasers! Prepare to fire!
But we'll hit All Might too.
Star looked up to him like no other.
The X-66 jets that helped Star beat down Tomura.
And as All For One is looking at them, he destroys every single one with as one of the pilots goes, "Fire! Fire!" All For One swats them away like they're literally nothing. Like Omni-Man going through those jets that tried to fire on him when we found out Omni-Man's true colors. He just swats through and slices through all of the bombers, and they just go careening towards the ground.
However, Star is no longer with us.
And then it cuts to one of the citizens watching this, and he starts praying because it doesn't look like things are going well. Then we cut to Midoriya, who's still going all out against Shigaraki. Then it shows Tsukauchi. Then it shows Midoriya, and he's looking, and Midoriya's heart is pumping and beating. Well, crap. Huh? And people are praying all over.
All Might's totally about to bite the dust. Yeah, it's all over.
No way! That can't be!
All Might? Really?
He saved me once! He saved me once!
Everyone's watching.
No matter how it goes down, his death will marks the end of an era.
As All For One holds up All Might's body above him.
Uncle Might.
which is the same girl that helped develop his suit of armor, and also the girl that was in My Hero Academia Strongest Heroes, Two Strongest Heroes or Heroes Rising. I forget which one. I still have yet to actually watch that movie. My apologies. And then we see Gran Torino. We see Gran Torino in the hospital, and he's watching. He goes, Toshinori. And then Tomura's smiling. Midoriya looks completely beside himself. Sukauchi's watching on, and he closes his eyes as Midoriya thinks, No! As All For One starts pulling on All Might. He intends to rip All Might in two. Like, rip him in half. No! And All For One starts ripping All Might in two. And Midoriya's heart starts beating more and more. And then Sukauchi starts praying, like so many people are praying right now, that a miracle happens. Someone. Anyone. And then we cut to something flashing. Something shining bright at the top of... We cut to someone standing at the top of UA, shining bright. The light shining behind him as Midoriya is screaming out no, his heart pumping. This individual walks out from the smoke. Number 403, the end of an era. And who is it that steps out of the smoke but Lord Murder? Dynamite! Like, look, I know his name. He has tons of names. Lord Explosion Murder. King Lord Explosion Murder. Explosion Murder. Had to change his name. But we have Dynamite. The rival of Izuku Midoriya. The one who went out of his way because his body moved on his own to save his friend. The one who stood against Tomura despite all odds before Midoriya could even show up. Whose life was almost cut short had it not been for the efforts of Edgeshot. Who many of us were anticipating his return. Who is it who stands on both of his 2 feet? Ready to still lend a hand despite being covered in blood and looking grievously injured? It's Bakugo! The end of an era and Midoriya sees Bakugo. And we see the path that All Might was looking back on. And Bakugo is still holding on to that All Might card that he wanted to show All Might and get autographed by him. And we see in All Might's memories, him looking at a young Midoriya and a young Bakugo. The end of an era and the beginning. As it shows young Bakugo and it shows young Midoriya holding up All Might cards. And it shows older Bakugo and it shows older Midoriya as they're both looking at each other. And I can't tell if it's raining out because water's splashing all over their faces, and they both just look at each other. And I don't know if it's just me, but there's something going on with Bakugo's eyes. What's going on with his eyes? They look like I know Midoriya's eyes look like they're kind of fuzzy and you know, very, very detailed simply because he's using all of his powers, but what's going on with Bakugo's eyes? And what happened to Edgeshot? And that's the end of the chapter. Bakugo's up. Bakugo's back. And as it seems like All For One is preparing to rip All Might in half, Bakugo stands up. And now now I can see what you guys are saying in chat. Let me acknowledge everybody. Halster, Psycho, Ali, Michael. Good to see you, everyone. Thank you for gracing me with your presence. I can see where All Might got his looks from. She not bad. With his mom, it's all mom. All Might and all mom. All for One is so gross. He really is. All for One truly gives Joker vibes here, especially with that peel up. Melissa cameo, we love to see her in the manga finally. Yeah, Melissa, that's her name? Yeah, I would know her name from by heart if I had watched the movie, so I apologize if I haven't done that yet. But yeah, trying to pull a Gojo. Jesus, Bakugo is covered in blood. Yeah, he is covered. Like, if you look at his face, it's just like, it's all over his face. We're just seeing the right side. But it's not just him, he's covered in it. He's covered in it. He literally had a hole punched in his chest. So, yeah. Bakugo versus All for One. I love how Bakugo still has the All Might card, both as a child to now. What's going on with Bakugo's eyes? I mentioned that. Is he still going through his quirk awakening, or does he somehow have a version of One for All? Now, here's the thing. Him getting One for All was just for the movie. It's not technically considered canon. Now, I know people like to argue with this, but it's not considered canon. But I have to go with you, Ali, on the first part. It could be his awakening because we've never seen it. And usually when your body's pushed to the brink of death, that's when your quirk starts to really awaken, really evolve. And Bakugo, I feel, has been pushed to the brink of death far more than any other hero who's been fighting right now. So if this is Bakugo's of evolution of his quirk, like, how do you go beyond explosions? What do they do now? To fight against Nine, Bayaga's eyes kind of remind me about the movie where he got One for All as well as Deku to fight Nine. Yeah, that's the movie I'm thinking of. It's Bakugo's quirk awakening. I thought All for One was going to pull a Bane and break his back. No, much worse. Yeah, he intends, because if you go back to the chapter where it shows All for One holding him over here, there's a certain word that's said here that is meant to be the sound effect of what's happening, and it's SHRP, like shh, which is the type of sound you hear when something's getting like paper. If it's being ripped apart, you hear like that's the sound when you're tearing something. That's the sound effect that it makes. So he intends to not just break All Might's back. He intends to rip him in half. So just to ensure that All Might has absolutely no way to survive. That's the reason why he's holding over his head. Because that would actually make it even worse to see on TV. Breaking All Might's back would be one thing. But ripping his body apart on live national television for everyone around the world to see, that would be a far more psychological thing to witness than just the back being broken. We've seen Batman's back being broken before, both in animation and the comics and the movies. It's a bad feeling. You feel it on your back, even though it's not happening to you. But to see a person get ripped in half, it gives this psychological feeling of finality to the person that received it. Case in point, when Megatron ripped Jazz in half in the first Transformers movie from the Michael Bay verse. When he got ripped in half, you just felt like it was over. Just completely over when he got forcibly ripped in half by Megatron. You want a piece of me, Megatron? You want a piece? No, I want two. And that's just the finality of it that gives that whole feeling of there's no coming back from this. It's over. That is what All Might is doing. I'm not a psychologist. I don't have an expert's degree in psychology, but I do have a good enough knowledge to know about psychological effects on the human mind, at least to a certain degree, to say this sort of thing. That's why he's doing it. Because of the psychological thing it can do to the people. If you see your hero's back get broken, it's a bad thing. They're in bad straits. But it's something that they could potentially be healed from. If you see your hero get ripped in half, that is something that stays with you as a citizen for the rest of your life. And if your hero's not someone who can come back from that, they don't have regeneration, they're not on Deadpool's level of regenerating, that gives you the idea that the person who did this is not someone to be messed with. So what this does for All for One is spell out that no matter who you are, Even the symbol of peace can not only be broken, but be ripped apart. And as someone who everyone looked up to as a symbol of peace and the surefire way to deter villains, seeing that being ripped in half in front of your very eyes can be that nuclear deterrent, if you will. Metal Gear has Metal Gears. All for One has ripping the world's greatest hero in half on national television. Nations wouldn't dare stand against this person if he can do that to the world's greatest superhero. So the implications of him ripping All Might in half go far more than just from a visual standpoint. It can crush morale. It can dampen spirits. It can keep that air of despair in the atmosphere for the foreseeable future. That is what it means for him to be doing this. But it is also so significant because All Might really can't do anything at this moment. He can't even resist because he's still under the effects of the blood curdle quirk that All for One stole from Stain. So to ensure that All Might wouldn't even try to resist what's happening to him, he paralyzes him. So not only is he paralyzed and unable to do anything, he has to be still while it's happening to him. He's forcing All Might to go through this pain on purpose, and he can't do a thing about it. That makes it even worse for All Might. I know this is off topic, but Spider-Man 2 is this upcoming week. Yes, it is. And I can't wait to play it for all of you. Now, just a reminder, I won't be doing like a stream series for Spider-Man. Like my previous Spider-Man game series I've done, they will be video. They will be straight to video. Streams will be for when we get after the main story. Let me see. I mean, he kind of has, that was a gruesome way to die. Night Eye warned about that. Maybe he has a new quirk where it's a combination of his and Edge shots. Maybe. Inside explosions. Maybe. I don't know. Because we don't know what Edge shot had to give up in order to bring Bakugo back. Because even Best Jeanist was protesting to him. Like, there's no way you can come back from this if you do this. And Edge shot says, like, it's worth it. So who knows? Maybe Edge shot has become permanently a part of Bakugo in order to, heal him. And also some part of Edge shot's quirk is now within Bakugo that extends to his own explosion quirks as well. We don't know the finite details on what Edge shot did to bring Bakugo back. We know what he attempted to do, but we don't know the extent of how far it reached into Bakugo and if it's going to make a difference. But I feel like it is. And let me see. Is Bakugo really able to fight at the moment? I mean, he has no choice. He has no choice. If Bakugo is up and he can move, he's got to do something. He's got to have another my body moved on its own moment. That's the only way this is going to happen, because he can't just stand there and he's not going to just stand there and watch his hero that he, like Midoriya, looked up to get torn in half. What if Bakugo has regeneration now? Who knows? Though I do find it interesting, we saw the All Might vestige meet with Bakugo before this, so maybe it was that final mental push to get back up? Possibly. But what I can say is, like, man, can I say something? And you guys hear me say this all the time. Horikoshi is such a good writer. The way he creates character development and progress for a character like Bakugo to go from this individual who we all thought was just a jerk, who was jealous that Midoriya was, liked by people because he was just like a good dude, and Bakugo, just being the loud, boisterous dude, couldn't do anything about it because he was just loud and boisterous. And to see him go from being this individual who had no problem attacking Midoriya all the time, berating him, talking down to him, making fun of him, to go from that individual to this individual who's willing to stand and fight on the same playing field as Midoriya, and even apologize for all the torment he's caused him over the years, that's a fantastic way to write a character. And the beautiful thing about it is that Horikoshi does not rush character development. He doesn't rush it. Because you can tell when character development is being rushed, and it doesn't turn into character development. It just becomes exposition that you're just expected to go along with. And this happens in quite a few stories. Not a lot of manga, because a lot of mangakas tend to write very well for their characters. But when it comes to Horikoshi and writing character development, I feel like the character development is deserved for characters, and it's also well-paced. We grow with these characters. I remember reading this series from the very beginning. When I was reading this series from the beginning back many, many years ago, I want to say like 2016, 2017, before we hit the 2020s, you got used to a lot of these characters. You wanted to see them grow. You wanted to see them progress. And what Horikoshi has done has progressed these characters in a meaningful way to the point where we love to see them succeed. We love to see them grow even stronger, not just as heroes, but as characters as well, as inspirations, as role models, if you will. To see these characters progress from where they started to where they are right now, at the pinnacle of the decision that could decide the fate of the world, it has been a phenomenal, and I'm not going to say it's been a roller coaster ride. It's just been a steady road for these characters to be better characters. And that is why I love Horikoshi's writing. Not just simply because it has so many great moments in it, but simply because it engrosses you. You are invested in these characters. So when you see someone like Bakugo get up from the brink of death, that's a major moment. It's major. And that's what I love. That's what I love about Horikoshi's writing. Because it's so good. When I first started reading or watching MHA, I didn't like Aoyama. Now in this final arc, he's become one of my favorite characters. That's the thing, though. Horikoshi is good for writing all types of characters. Even characters that you find annoying can have some significantly major moments in the future, simply because the writing is that good. And I love this series. I'm so grateful for this series. Like, I know I do a lot of One Piece stuff. One Piece pretty much jump-started everything I do on my channel as far as reactions and, you know, being the person that I am today, being the person with a stage presence. Me playing in my church band also helped with that. But My Hero Academia is by far one of the greatest manga series I have ever read. And we're still going with it. But it's by far one of the greatest series that I've ever read. And I am wholeheartedly proud to say that I do not regret a single moment of reading a single chapter. This entire series has been nothing short of amazing. And like I said, we're not done yet, but I'm grateful for reading this series. And I'm also grateful that you guys have enjoyed me reading through not One Piece, but reading through My Hero Academia from the very beginning. Some of you may have come in back when I was like doing my early read-through videos and such, but to all of you who have stuck with me reading this entire series and enjoying it with me, I just want to say thank you. Because it's amazing to share what I feel about this series with all of you. It is absolutely amazing. And I'm just in awe because at some point this series is going to end. And we're not going to have My Hero Academia anymore. So until we get to that point, thank you for joining me on this ride. It's amazing. From Ali, Michael, Halster, everyone who watches my reactions to My Hero, thank you for enjoying this ride with me. Because it's stories like this that make me happy to do what I do. God, I love this series. It's so good. But I'm done. Family's here with food. They just showed up, so this is a perfect time for me to stop. All I can say is that not only was One Piece a good chapter today, but My Hero was good as well. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you enjoyed what you saw here today, and if you haven't done this already, then do these things because not only are they free, but it also helps this channel grow even larger. Like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know because the more the merrier. And because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.